Hello, YouTube. Merry Christmas to all. It's a little late, but I'm early for Happy New Year, so let's do a Santa breakdown. So Santa, to get right into it, he's got two different stat effect tokens. One is his cheer with a limit of 3 stacks, and you may spend 1 cheer at any time to reroll one of your dice, or you can spend 3 cheer at any time to change one of your dice to a 6 immediately. So that's pretty good, and it's like I said, it's at any time, so it's not only restricted to a roll phase or something. It's during anything, which is neat, because there's quite a few abilities on here that you can tamper with the cheer. So his Eggnog, you have a stack limit of 5, and you have a myriad of different effects that happen. So you roll 1 die, and then on a 1 through 3, so your axe symbols, you get 2 undefendable isolated damage. On your bells, so your 4 and your 5, you gain 2 health and then also gain 1 CP. And then on a 6, you gain 2 health and draw cards. So yeah, that's what those do. Now, the way you play Santa is you kind of want to hoard all your status effect tokens. You want to like gain them all up, and then sort of they have good effects for some of your abilities, like your straights and other things. And then the cheer, kind of like I said, the cheer guarantees you can get certain effects from your abilities or from your Eggnog tokens. So we'll talk about that now. So his basic attack is your standard higher damaged one, the 468, and then also it has an upgrade for 2 CP, and then it increases the damage by 1 for 579. And then also adds 4 of a kind, you gain 1 Eggnog. I don't care for this. It's not terrible. Santa actually generates quite a bit of CP, so it's not terrible. You're gonna find yourself with more than enough CP to actually upgrade your cards, but this one's not a high priority. You can take it or leave it. I really don't like it that much. It's okay, but it's extra damage. It's expensive for what it does, in my opinion, though. So I typically sell it. Festivities, on the other hand, is a totally different ballgame. I really like this ability, and I really like its upgrade too. So we'll talk about it right now. So in the 4-player pod format that I play in, the King of the Hill, free-for-all kind of situation, this ability is probably his best ability on his board. It's 3 1 through 3, and then 2 6s, and you can dice mod with your cheer to get into it if you need to. Like if you see 2 6s on your opening roll, this is the ability you're going for. If you see 1 6 and a bunch of axes and you have 3 cheer, just go ahead, mod into it, forcing people to go off of it to dice mod you off. But the reason why is the payoff is huge. So you get 2 Eggnog. So you're already 2/3 of the way to an Eggnog activation. You're majority of the way there. At 66%. Everyone gains 1 CP. So it does help your opponents a little bit, but it's part of like the mind game of Santa. He actually has a surprising amount of mind games here, because it's sort of helpful. Some people won't even like try to disrupt your dice roll because they want the CP, but it's really powerful. So it does a base damage of 7 plus 1 per player, including yourself. So plus 4. So it does 11 damage in a King of the Hill format. This is my priority roll. This is the one I chase. I really like it. Its upgrade is 2 CP, and then it gives you 1 extra Eggnog, so you have an Eggnog activation immediately from this. So if you're maxed out on Eggnog, you can spend 3 to activate it to get an effect, and then you'll gain 3, and then you can do it again. You have a double activation. And then it increases your damage at base by 1. So it deals 8 damage to all players plus 1 per player. So 12 if all 4 players are active. Now it does get weaker as the game goes on when more people get eliminated, but it's still probably one of your go-to abilities, just because it gives you that double Eggnog activation when you're maxed out on Nog. So it's really good. I pretty much buy that almost every time I get into it. Now, Fireside Chat. This is one of 2 options that are undefendable on your base board besides your ultimate. It's hard to get into. So this is where Santa has his weak point. He doesn't have a whole lot of undefendable damage, so you have to kind of rely on your Eggnog activations to get undefendable damage if need be. But he does have big damage. So like up here, that's like 11 or 12. Over here on Naughty or Nice, you'll see it's 10 to 12, and then the upgrade makes it even higher. And then 6 undefendable damage. And from what I can remember, besides mini ults, is the highest amount of undefendable damage on a base board that's not a mini ult or an actual ult without upgrade cards. And it might even be higher than most upgrade cards too. So I think it's justified for it to be such a hard roll. Now you can use your dice mod cards or your cheer to try to get into it if you really are valuing the undefendable damage, but the problem is even if you roll it, it's not guaranteed that you're going to have undefendable damage anyway. So I'll just read what it is. So on 4 of a kind of a 4 or a 5, you're going to be the opponent that you target are going to have a roll off. So it's kind of like what's her face, the gunslinger or the cowgirl. If your roll is equal or greater, you deal the undefendable damage and then and gain a cheer. That's your better option, obviously. And it's going to happen more often than not. So you shouldn't have to use cheer to re-roll to get the undefendable damage. And even if you do, you'll regain the cheer back. So it's not terrible. The hardest part is just actually rolling into it. And then if otherwise, if your roll is less than, you deal 8 defendable damage and then get an eggnog, which is the bad effect. So Fireside Chat, yeah, I actually think this is really good. I just like theoretically, but practically speaking, it's kind of hard to get into. So if you chase it, you're at chance of whiffing. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't know. Just do with that what you may. It has no upgrade either, which is kind of sad, because if it did have an upgrade, man, I'd really like that ability. I'd probably be chasing it more than what I do. Anyhow, okay, so Naughty or Nice. 2 axes, 2 bells, and a star. It's kind of a weird dice combination, but sometimes you're going to be getting into this just because of the way you hold with Santa. I kind of hate this ability, to be honest with you. As a free-for-all, 4-pod player, this ability it's just weird. So it has another roll-off thing, where on a 1 through 4, your opponent is nice, and then they gain a CP. So you're giving them CP, right? Then you're dealing 10 damage. That I don't know. I don't think that's great, because it's defendable damage, right? It's 10. So this is technically in a 4v4. This is 1 less damage than this on base, and you don't even get the eggnog. That's why I just value this so much more. So you're kind of splitting this with your straights. Let's go over the second part of it. So if you roll a 5 or 6, your opponent is naughty. They gain a cheer, and I think that's detrimental, man. Gaining cheer is kind of crazy, especially if they get up to the stack of 3. I just don't like giving out cheer. And then you can deal 12 undefendable, or 12 defendable. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just against. I have a counter opinion on this. It's probably just because of the format I play. It does have an upgrade for 2 CP. It's the same thing. You roll 1 die, and then it actually increases the odds of them being naughty, which is nice, at least. At least that kind of helps, but at the same time, it's a negative again. So 1 through 3, they still gain 1 CP, and you're dealing 11 damage now. So now it's on par with this at base. But no nog, no eggnog. So this is just strictly better. But if you get the naughty part, you're dealing 13 damage. You are giving them cheer, but there is another reason why you might want this. So let me go into it. So Santa actually, surprisingly, got a lot of combos in his deck. Here is the card that combos with it. Extremely Naughty. This is actually ridiculous. If you get into the upgrade and you have this little combo piece in hand, it is actually worth, I think, spending your cheer to guarantee that you make them naughty. Like, just keep re-rolling your dice, or use all 3 to 6 it, I guess, and then make them naughty, and then play this card, because it's 0 CP, and then what it does is it makes this attack undefendable, so you're dealing 13 damage undefendable, which is really good. And then you get to, like, style on them or flex on them by saying, are you sorry? Are you sorry for being naughty? And if they don't apologize, they get 2 extra damage, so this would be 15 damage. It's actually pretty funny to do. Santa's one of the most fun characters in the game. But overall, I think this is just a better version in the 4v4 format. Okay, so that's that. Let's go ahead and talk about his small straight. The biggest issue with the small straight is that you're either going to have to allow for your defense roll to gain some cheer, or you're going to have to get like Fireside Chat, or you're going to have card play. Otherwise, it's kind of sort of lackluster if you don't already have cheer. You do gain 1 cheer. You deal 6 base damage, plus 1 per cheer. So at max ranks of cheer, you're dealing 9 damage on a base small straight is actually pretty good. But it's hard to get there because you just don't have a whole lot of ways to gain cheer other than your straights, your defense, and then a Fireside Chat. It does also have an upgrade for 2 CP, like all of his upgrades. It increases the damage by 1. It also gives you 1 extra eggnog. Now, I kind of have somewhat of a conflicting, or what would you call it, like a contradictory opinion on whether or not you should upgrade this this ability versus your basic attack. So this is a weird conundrum. I actually think this is worth it to buy this if you're playing the game plan to go for straights. And you might do that because his large straight is very strong. But I do like the fact that it gives you an eggnog and extra damage. So that is slightly better than your basic attack. But I also think your basic attack, if you play the way I play, which is going for this, you use this a lot. You fall back on this a decent amount, more than you would think. So I don't know. This one I sell kind of frequently, because I usually only use this just to get if I miss a large straight. All right, and 1 extra damage and 1 nog's not huge if I'm only activating like once a game. So let's go to his large straight. you do gain a cheer and 2 eggnog. So now we're getting into what we like. I like gaining multiples of eggnog to be able to activate eggnog as much as possible. I also like gaining as many cheers as possible too. So, more stuff is always better. Let's see. I gotta focus this thing. There we go. Now you can read it. So then you're gonna deal 4 base damage, +1 per eggnog, and +1 per cheer. So that's only a 7 damage base large straight. That is awful. That's really bad. But it does have an upgrade, and the upgrade is kind of bonkers. So here's the upgrade. 2 CP like always. And I think this is one of his better value for the upgrade cards because it gives you a backup roll, and it also increases the damage quite a bit on this. So it keeps the base stuff the same, so you only gain 1 cheer and only gain 2 eggnog, and the base damage is only 4. But you have 2 damage per cheer. At base, it's still kind of lackluster, but if you're maxed out on your stacks, this does a crap ton of damage. So I'm trying to think what it is. 4 + 5 is 9, + 6 is 15. 15 damage on a large straight is pretty solid. That's really good, actually. I also like the upgrade for this reason, that it does give you another undefendable option for Santa. He doesn't have a whole lot. He doesn't have many at all. And it's a good option because it kind of is a backup roll for what you're trying to go for anyway when you're trying to do undefendable damage. Because it is two of these. It's also a backup roll for this, if you miss this, if you just don't get the 6. So it's not bad. It's not great either, though. 2 chosen players gain cheer. You can pick the same person twice. You would just pick yourself twice. Now, if you're in teams, that's actually pretty solid if you're in teams. But I've never played Santa on teams. I think that'd be really fun. I'll try that. And then you just deal 2 undefendable damage. There's that. All right, let's talk about his mini ult and then his big ult. All right, so not Tannenbaum, I'm sorry, what is this called? Holly Jolly, that's what it's called. Tannenbaum is the micro ult, which we'll get into in just a second. You gain 2 cheers, so you gain multiple cheer, good. You're gaining 3 eggnogs, you're gaining enough to activate the eggnog, that's good. And then you're dealing 6 undefendable damage. That's pretty solid, high undefendable damage for a mini ult. I actually like the mini ult. I think it's totally worth it. Because it's also giving you an activation of eggnog. Like I already explained over here, if you have enough eggnog to go ahead and just activate it and then gain the 3 back, you could look at this as 8 damage. So that's pretty solid. It does an upgrade for 2 CP. It increases both the cheer and the eggnog up to max stacks, and increases the damage by 1. So I think this is worth it. It's 2 CP to upgrade. I think that's almost always worth it, because Santa's, what would you say? Santa's game plan is to kind of go for his ult anyway, and you're wanting to hoard 6s, which is another reason why I like this ability here. You're kind of already holding 6s for it. So I think you almost always play this card. And then it gives you the backup roll for the micro ult, where you gain 1 cheer and then 5 nog, maxing out your nogs. It's not bad. It's not something you want to activate, but I mean, you'll take it other than a whiff. So, and then all this is going to bring us to his ultimate here. You gain 4 eggnog. That's really good. And then you deal 10 damage. So, yeah, that's not that great of an ult, but the real kicker is you get to immediately take another turn. That's kind of crazy, but you have to attack the same person. So if they're like kind of low, they're at 20 HP or less, you have a good shot at actually killing that player, finishing them off if you get into this. And Santa has some reliable ways to get into this. And like I said, I like using the eggnog to try to guarantee. I like using it to guarantee the draw. So I use the cheer to guarantee the card draw with the eggnog to give Santa like a little bit of an econ option. And then when I'm ready for going for an ult to try to kill some characters, it's like guaranteed. It's very fun. That's how I play him. Anyway, it's pretty sweet, pretty sick. Here's his defense. It's not anything too special. You get 4 dice on base. For each bell, you get an eggnog, and then for each 6, you get a cheer. It has an upgrade for, like always, 2 CP. It just gives you an extra dice to roll. Now, there is one thing to be said about this dice, his defense. So let's say you already have a cheer, and you roll his defense. Let's say you roll a 6, though. If you already have a cheer, you can spin a cheer to re-roll one of these like axes to try to get more eggnogs if you want. It didn't work there, but you would gain that cheer back if your cheer's like maxed out. So let's just do some practice rolls. So I got a 4 and a 5. I'm already looking at maybe possibly doing either Fireside Chat or going for one of the streets. I would like to do Fireside Chat here. It's a 4. Uh-oh. Now we're in trouble. Like I said, this isn't a guarantee. All right, let's see what I can do. Oh dear. And that's a whiff. And this is an example of what happens with Santa when you don't have any cheer online, which is why it's kind of important to try to, you want to start the game off with a Fireside Chat or one of your straights in order to get that orc, if you can. one of these to get the cheer going. You need to get cheer as early as possible, as soon as possible. But that was a good example. I mean, like, starting with 3 bells, you would think you'd be able to get into a fireside chat, but you might want to just pivot to the straight to play it safe, unless you already have cheer. There you go. So that would be me pivoting into the straight, and I even have Naughty or Nice. I typically don't like using this, so I'd probably use that early on in the game. If I'm trying to finish a player off, then I would use Naughty or Nice. You see how it, like, I told you, like, it kind of splits it? Okay. So I only have this here. So if I had some cheer, I would just activate all 3 cheer just to get this here, because I think it's worth it, especially if this was upgraded. If not, I would go for the I'd go for that. Okay, I'm definitely going for this. Oh, what a roll! What a roll! Okay, I didn't get it. I think that was a 4. I would have had a straight. I probably should have taken the straight. That's okay. But you're kind of getting a feel for what it looks like, right? Ooh. I already have a small straight. I guess we could go for the large. That would increase their damage. Okay, that was a terrible roll. That didn't count. And then I guess you could use Downing Your Nice if you really wanted to. I actually haven't been getting many axes. There you go. Oh dear. I don't know. This is probably not worth it. 1, 2, 3. Trying to do some aggressive rolling here. There you go. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, guys. I'm probably not doing the best example here. Alright, I think that'll do it, though. Alright, thanks, guys. I will catch you in the next one. Have fun.